Imagine hearing a conversation in a language you've never learned. At first, it sounds like meaningless noise, but after listening for a while, you begin to notice patterns. Certain sounds repeat. Certain calls always happen before the same event. Now, imagine discovering that the speakers aren't humans. They're crows. For decades, scientists believed bird calls were simple signals, warnings, mating calls, or cries for food. But one extraordinary experiment challenged everything researchers thought they knew about animal communication. The results were so surprising that they attracted attention far beyond biology. Even linguists, the scientists who study human language, began asking a shocking question. Could crow communication be far more language-like than anyone imagined? Today, we're exploring the crow experiment that stunned researchers around the world. And by the end of this video, you may never hear a crow the same way again. Chapter 1. The birds everyone underestimated. Most people think of crows as noisy birds that gather around cities and farmland. But scientists see something very different. Behind those black feathers is one of the most intelligent brains in the animal kingdom. Crows recognize individual human faces. They remember people for years. They solve complex puzzles. They use tools. They even plan for future events. Their intelligence rivals that of great apes in several tasks. Yet one mystery remained unsolved. How much information can a crow communicate to another crow? Was each call simply an emotional reaction? Or was there an organized communication system hidden beneath the noise? To answer that question, researchers began recording thousands of crow vocalizations. What they discovered would challenge decades of assumptions. Chapter 2. The Experiment. Researchers observed wild crow families over long periods. Every call was carefully recorded. Each recording included the exact situation. Was a predator nearby? Was food discovered? Had a family member returned? Were young birds asking for help? Instead of listening casually, scientists analyzed every sound using advanced acoustic software. The software measured pitch, duration, rhythm, spacing, frequency, tiny details impossible for the human ear to detect consistently. Then something unexpected appeared. The calls weren't random. Certain combinations repeatedly occurred in nearly identical situations. When danger approached from above, one pattern emerged. When danger came from the ground, a different pattern appeared. Food discoveries had another pattern entirely. Family reunions used yet another. It was almost as though crows were choosing from a vocabulary of sounds. Chapter 3. A Hidden Structure. This was the moment linguists became interested. Human language isn't just about making sounds. It's about organizing sounds into meaningful patterns. Linguists study structure, order, context, relationships between signals. When they compared crow vocalizations with communication systems in other animals, something stood out. Crow calls weren't simply louder or softer, depending on emotion. The structure itself changed. Small differences completely altered the meaning. Even more remarkable, neighboring crow families developed slight dialects. Just as human accents differ between regions, crows from different areas produced recognizable local variations. Young crows learned these patterns from adults. They weren't born knowing them. They acquired them through experience. That finding immediately caught the attention of language researchers. Learning communication socially is one of the foundations of language evolution. Chapter 5. What shocked linguists? Language experts remained cautious. No one claimed crows speak like humans. Human language still possesses features unlike any known animal communication. Grammar, infinite sentenskrisition, complex storytelling, abstract ideas. But crows challenged another assumption. For years, Many scientists believe sophisticated communication belonged almost entirely to humans. The crow experiments showed nature might be far more creative. Communication exists on a spectrum, rather than a simple gap between language and no language. There may be many levels of complexity. Some linguists began comparing crow vocal patterns with early stages of language evolution, not because crows speak, but because their communication demonstrates organization, learning, flexibility, and social transmission. Those are precisely the ingredients researchers study when investigating how language first evolved millions of years ago. Chapter 6. The Social Network of Crows. Communication isn't useful unless others remember it. Fortunately, crows have extraordinary memories. When one crow identifies danger, others quickly learn. Young birds observe experienced adults. Families share information. Entire neighborhoods seem capable of remembering important events. Researchers have documented crows warning each other about dangerous humans. Years later, birds that were never present during the original event still reacted. Knowledge had spread through the population. Not genetically, socially. This resembles cultural learning. Humans pass information through teaching. Crows appear to do something surprisingly similar. That makes their communication system even more impressive. Chapter 7. Are crows having conversations? This question fascinates both scientists and the public. Can crows actually have conversations? The honest answer, we don't know. What we do know is remarkable enough. Crows take turns calling. They respond differently depending on context. They modify calls. They recognize individuals. They remember past interactions. They adjust behavior after receiving vocal information. Whether that qualifies as a true conversation depends on how scientists define language. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Crow communication is far more sophisticated than anyone imagined just a few decades ago. Chapter 8. Why this matters. Understanding crow communication isn't just about birds. It changes how we think about intelligence itself. For centuries, humans believed advanced communication separated us from the rest of nature. But every decade, discoveries blur that line. Whales have complex songs. Dolphins use signature whistles. Prairie dogs produce alarm calls with surprising detail. And crows continue rewriting the rules. Each new experiment reminds us that intelligence evolved many times in different ways. A bird's brain may look nothing like ours, yet has produced astonishing solutions to life's challenges. Perhaps evolution found multiple paths toward complex minds. Conclusion. The experiment that shocked linguists didn't prove that crows speak a human language. It proved something just as important. Nature still holds secrets we're only beginning to understand. Every caw echoing through a city park may carry information invisible to our ears. Warnings, family messages, food discoveries, social relationships, perhaps even local traditions passed from one generation to the next. The next time a crow lands nearby and begins calling, remember this. You may not simply be hearing noise. You may be listening to one of the most sophisticated communication systems ever discovered outside our own species. And scientists are only beginning to decode it. Because sometimes, the greatest mysteries aren't hidden deep in remote jungles. They're perched quietly on the telephone wire outside your window. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden intelligence of crows, subscribe to Wild Psychology for more science-backed documentaries about bird intelligence, animal behavior, and the incredible secrets of the natural world. And tell us in the comments, do you think crow communication could someday be fully decoded, or will part of their language always remain a mystery?